In Genesis chapter 7, so Jacob settled again in the land of Canaan, where his fathers had lived as a foreigner. This is our account of Jacob and his family. When Joseph was 17 years old, what I'm reading is Joseph and his brothers. So Jacob settled again in the land of Canaan, where his father had lived as a foreigner. This is the account of Jacob and his family. When Joseph was 17 years old, he opened tended his father's flocks. He worked for his half brothers and the sons of his father's wives, Bilhah and Zilpah. But Joseph reported to his father some of the bad things his brothers were doing. Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his brothers' children because Joseph had been born to him in his old age. So one day Jacob had a special gift made for Joseph, a beautiful robe. But his brothers hated Joseph because of their fathers loved him more than the rest of them. They couldn't say kind word to him. One night Joseph had a dream, and when he told his dream about his brothers, about them, they hated him more than ever. Listen to his dream. He said, "We were out in a field buying up bundles of grain. Suddenly my bundle stood up, and your bundles all gathered around and bowed low before mine." His brothers responded, "So you think you will be our king, do you? Do you actually think you will reign over us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dreams and the way he talked about them. Soon Joseph had another dream, and again he told his brothers about it. "Listen, I've had another dream," he said. "The sun, moon, and the 11 stars bowed low before me." This time he told the dream to his father as well as his brothers. But his father scolded him. "What kind of dream is that?" he asked. "Will your mother and your brothers, actually come and bow to the ground before you?" But while his brothers were jealous of Joseph, his father wondered what the dream meant. Soon after this, Joseph's brothers went to pasture their father's flocks at Shechem. When they had been gone for some time, Jacob said to Joseph, "Your brothers are pasturing the sheep at Shechem. Get ready and I will send you to them." "I am ready to go," Joseph replied. "Go and see how your brothers in the flocks are getting along," Jacob said. "Then come back and bring me a report." So Jacob sent him on his way, and Joseph traveled to Shechem from their home in the valley of Hebron. When he arrived there, a man from the area noticed he's wandering around in the countryside. "What are you looking for?" he asked. "I'm looking for my brothers," Joseph replied. "Do you know where they are pasturing their sheep?" "Yes," the man told him. "They have moved on from here, but I heard them say, 'Let's go on to Dothan.'" So Joseph followed his brothers to Dothan, found them there. Joseph sold into slavery. When Joseph's brothers saw him coming, they recognized him in the distance. As they approached, they made plans to kill him. "Here comes the dreamer," they said. "Come on, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns. We can tell our father a wild animal has eaten him. Then we'll see what becomes of his dreams." But when Reuben had heard of this scheme, he came to Joseph's rescue. "Let's not kill him," he said. "Why should we shed blood? Let's just throw him into this empty cistern here in the wilderness. Then he'll die without our laying a hand on him." Reuben was secretly planning to rescue Joseph and return him to his father. So when Joseph arrived, his brothers ripped out the beautiful robe he was wearing. Then they grabbed him and threw him into the cistern. Now the cistern was empty. There was no water in it. Then just as they were sitting down to eat, they looked up and saw a caravan of camels in the distance coming toward them. It was a group of Ismailite traders talking a load of gum, bomb, aromatic resin from Gilead down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain by killing him? Our brother will have to cover up for the crime. Instead of hurting him, let's sell him to those Ismailite traders out there. All he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." And his brothers agreed. So when the Ismailites who were Midianite traders came by, Joseph's brothers pulled him out of the cistern and sold him to them for 20 pieces of silver. And the traders took him to Egypt. Sometime later, Reuben returned to get Joseph out of the cistern. When he discovered that Joseph was missing, he tore his clothes in grief. Then he went back to his brothers and lamented, "The boy is gone. What will we do now?" Then the brothers killed a young goat and dipped Joseph's robe in its blood. They sent a beautiful robe to their father with this message: "Look at what we found. Doesn't this robe belong to your son?" The father recognized it immediately. "Yes," he said, "it is my son's robe. A wild animal must have eaten him. Joseph has clearly been from the pieces." Then Jacob tore his clothes and dressed himself in burlap. He mourned deeply for his son for a long time. His family and all tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "I will go to my grave mourning for my son," he would say, and then he would weep. Meanwhile, the Midianite traders arrived in Egypt, where they sold Joseph to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Potiphar was captain of the palace guard. Joseph and Tamar. About this time, about this time, Judah left home and moved to Adullam, where he stayed with a man named Hilpah. And there he saw a Canaanite woman, the daughter of Shua, and he married her. When he slept with her, she became pregnant and gave him birth to a son. And he named the boy and son she named him Onan. And when she gave birth to a third son, she named him Shelah. Joseph in Potiphar's house. When Joseph was taken to Egypt by the Ishmaelite traders, he was purchased by Potiphar, an Egyptian officer. Potiphar was captain of the guard for Pharaoh's son, the king of Egypt. The Lord was with Joseph, so he succeeded in everything he did as he served in the home of his Egyptian master. Potiphar noticed this and realized that the Lord was with him, and this pleased Potiphar, so he soon made Joseph his personal attendant. He put him in charge of his entire household and everything he owned. From that day, Joseph was put in charge of his master's household and property. The Lord began to bless Potiphar's household for Joseph's sake. All his household affairs ran smoothly, and his crops and livestock flourished. So Potiphar gave Joseph complete administration administrative responsibility over everything he owned. With Joseph there, he didn't worry about anything. Joseph was kind of food to eat. Joseph was a very handsome and well-built young man. And Potiphar's wife soon began to look at him. "Come and sleep with me," she demanded. And Joseph refused. "Look," he told her, my master trusts me with everything in this entire household. No one trusts me with everything in the entire household. No one here has more authority than I do. He has held back nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How can I do such a wicked thing? It would be a great sin against God." She kept putting pressure on Joseph every day. After that, every day, he refused to sleep with her, and he kept how much stay out of her as much as possible. One day, however, no one is in the house, and she grabbed him by his cloak, demanding, "Come on." Come on. One day, however, no one was around the house when he went to do his work. She came, grabbed him and by his cloak, demanding, "Come on, sleep with me." Joseph tore himself away, but he left his cloak hands as he ran from the house. When she saw that she was holding his cloak, he had fled. She called out to the servant soon after, "His Hebrew slave here to make fools of us. He came in the room and raped me," but I screamed. When he heard the scream, he ran outside and got away, but he left his cloak behind him with me. She kept the cloak with her until her husband came home. Then she told him his story. "That Hebrew man you brought into our house tried to come in and around with me," she said. "But when I screamed, he ran outside, leaving his cloak with me." Joseph put in prison. Potiphar was furious when he heard his wife's story and how Joseph had treated her. So he took Joseph and put him into the prison where the king's prisoners were, and there he remained. But the Lord was with Joseph, the prisoner, and showed him his beautiful robe. And the Lord was made Joseph a favorite with the prison warden. And before long, the warden put Joseph in charge of all the others over everything that happened in the prison. The warden had no more worries because Joseph cared of everything. The Lord was with him and caused everything he did to succeed. Joseph interprets two dreams. Sometime later, Pharaoh's chief cupbearer became angry with these two officials, and he put them to prison where Joseph was in the palace of the captain of the guard. They remained in prison for quite some time, and the captain of the guard assigned them to Joseph, looked after them. While they were in prison, Pharaoh's cupbearer, baker, each had a dream that night, and each dream had their own meaning. When Joseph saw them the next morning, he noticed that they both looked upset. "Why do you so worried today?" he asked them. And they replied, "We both had a dream last night, and no one can tell us what they mean. Interpreting dream is God's business." Joseph replied, "Go ahead and tell me your dreams." So the chief cupbearer told Joseph his dream. "First, my dream," he said, "I saw a grapevine in front of me, and the vine had 3 branches that began to bud and blossom, but soon it produced clusters of ripe grapes. And I was holding Pharaoh's wine cup in my hand. So I took a cluster of grapes and squeezed them in the juice into the cup. Then I placed in Pharaoh's hand. This is what the dream word means. Joseph said, the branches represent 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh I will lift you up and restore you to your position as this chief cupbearer. And please remember me and do me favor. When things go well for you, mention me to Pharaoh, so he might let me out of this place. For I was kidnapped from my homeland, the land of the Hebrews. And now I'm here in prison, but I did nothing to deserve it. When the chief baker saw that Joseph had given the first dream such a positive interpretation, he said to Joseph, I had a dream too. In my dream were 3 baskets of white pastries stacked on my head. The top basket contained all kinds of pastries for Pharaoh, but the birds came and ate them for the basket on my head. This is what the dream means, Joseph told him. The 3 baskets also represent 3 days. 3 days from now, Pharaoh will lift you up and impale your body on a pole. Then birds will come and peck away at your flesh. Pharaoh's birthday came 3 days later, and he prepared the banquet for all his officials and staff. He summoned his chief cupbearer and his chief baker to join the other officials. He then restored the chief cupbearer to his former position, so he could again hand Pharaoh his cup. But Pharaoh impaled the chief bakers, just as Joseph had predicted, and interpreted his dream. Pharaoh's chief cupbearer, however, forgot all about Joseph, never giving him another thought. Pharaoh's dreams. 4 years later, Pharaoh dreamed that he was standing on the bank of the Nile River. In his dream, I saw 17 fat, healthy cows come out of the river and begin grazing in the marsh grass. Then he saw 7 more cows come from Pharaoh's dreams. He dreamed, and the cupbearer told him that the Pharaoh had dreamed, and no one in Egypt can interpret his dream. But the cupbearer remembered Joseph in prison and told him that there's a Hebrew man that can interpret your dream. He interpreted my dream and it came true. He can interpret your dream. So Joseph, the Pharaoh took Joseph out of the prison and asked him the interpretation of his dream. And Joseph interpreted his dream. And the Pharaoh put him in charge as second in command in Egypt. And Pharaoh put him in charge as second in command in Egypt. And the Pharaoh told him that you'll be second in command to me. Since you interpreted my dream, I want you to gather all the grains from Egypt. And after the famine happens, I want you to give up selling all the grains to Egypt, to the people. He did that. But Joseph, father and his brothers, they're also affected by the drought. So they couldn't find any food anywhere. So Jacob told all his sons to go to Egypt and buy some grain, for they were starving. When Joseph's brothers went to Egypt, they didn't recognize Joseph because he was wearing Egyptian clothes. But Joseph recognized them. And he told them that he had to buy grains. Down. Hey. Joseph interpreted the Pharaoh's dream, so that Pharaoh put him in charge of put him in the second in command to him. And he put him in charge of all the selling of grains to Egypt, all the people in Egypt. And in time, his father and his brothers also was affected by the drought. So they started starved to death. So Jacob told them to go and tell all his sons to go to Egypt and buy grains. When they got there, they didn't recognize Joseph, his brothers, because he's wearing Egyptian clothes. But Joseph recognized him. "What are you doing here?" he told him. He said he's buying. They're starving. Their father told them to go to Egypt to buy grains. Joseph told him, "Do you have another brother?" And they said, "Yes, our father's keeping him, Benjamin." "Okay, I want you to." Then he put one of them in prison. Then he told him to go and fetch their youngest brother. And they said they can't do that. Our father might die if he bring Benjamin here. He's been grieving over our brother that died. That's his only brother. His brother Benjamin. So Joseph told him to bring his brother, and he released the other brother that's in prison. So they went home with the grains they had, and they told Jacob, their father, what Joseph had sent. At first, the father wouldn't let Benjamin go, but after a while, they run out of grains to eat. So Jacob sent all his sons, including Benjamin, to Egypt to buy some more grains. But when they got to Egypt, Joseph recognized Benjamin, his real brother, and the same mother and father. And he cried. Then he told him who he is, all his brothers. He told him he prepared a feast for them. All his brothers were afraid because they remember what they did to him, to Joseph. But Joseph told them not to be afraid. "For you're my brothers, not forgiven you." So Joseph arranged for his father to come live with him. So Joseph asked the Pharaoh permission for them to live in Goshen, for the land there's fertile, Goshen in Egypt. So when Jacob and all his sons live in Goshen with their flocks and their families. This is a beautiful story about Joseph. Even though her brothers did all the bad things, selling him to slavery in Egypt, that he forgiven them. And at the end, that they got to live in Egypt, in Goshen, and there they that all their flocks. That is that's what they brought them from Canaan, and this is why in time they multiplied. Jacob children, their families, that in time they multiplied. And the next Pharaoh that was on, he wasn't afraid of God, and he doesn't know Joseph and his family, because the Pharaoh that Joseph was second in command died, and that's where he turned them all to slaves, all the Jews, Israelites, and that's when they start crying out to God, for the Egyptians are mean to them. All of Joseph's family. This is where God heard their cries, the Egyptians, not Egyptians, the Israelites, and God. That's where Joseph, that's where Moses started to be raised to deliver the Israelites from slavery and bondage in Egypt. That's the story of God's redemption.